What drives artists, designers, and other creative practitioners? How can we focus our goals and values in our work that is accountable to the people who engage with it? What does it mean to be collaborative and connect art and design with other ways of working? I am Johanna Taylor, the director of the Master's Program in Creative Enterprise and Cultural Leadership at Arizona State University. We affectionately call this program CECL. Today, I'm joined by two of our core collaborators here at CECL, Michael Rohd and Maria Rosario Jackson, who are national leaders advancing thinking around art and design, and are both institute professors here at the Herberger Institute for Design and the Arts. Thank you to Michael and Maria for joining me here today. I'm excited to speak with you both about the new class that you're developing for fall 2021 called Purpose, Collaboration, and Accountability. I think it's going to be a great opportunity for our students to come together and engage with both of you in a classroom setting, especially around such provocative ideas right now. What do each of these concepts mean to you? Purpose, collaboration, accountability, and what's the value or impact in bringing them together now?
Michael, do you want to start or should I start?
Well, I would always defer to you. Johanna, thank you for having us. And I love listening to my friend and colleague, Maria, think and talk about these things. So if you're okay, I'd love to listen to you and then I'll dive in after.
Sure. Yeah, Johanna, thank you for inviting us to have this conversation with you. You know, of all of those words, I think the first one, purpose, is the one that is maybe at the root of everything else. And part of what I think is really important in any education process, aside from acquiring the skills that you think are going to propel you into the world, and aside from engaging important ideas that you may agree with or disagree with, is the opportunity to dig a little deeper personally and understand why you're here, what it is that is your particular contribution to the world, what it is that is your purpose, and how does that matter outside of yourself. So I think purpose, at least today, is for me the word that gets my attention the most. When somebody has a strong purpose, it feels like a compass that allows you to understand if you're doing the work that you're supposed to be doing, if you're moving in the direction that you're intended to move in. And it's something that is, I think, cultivated at its best. It comes from somewhere deep inside, but the opportunities to cultivate that are really important. And hopefully this class is an opportunity for that, to cultivate purpose, to interrogate purpose. That's my initial response.
It's a great one. I mean, it sets me up to simply add on and say, I also think purpose is such an important place to start the conversation, because collaboration is most possible if one agrees on a shared sense of purpose. So if what we're partly talking about is how artists and designers and culture makers and heritage holders collaborate with individuals and organizations outside of the arts and design sector, that is sort of premised on the possibility that folks come together agreeing on what sort of outcomes they're working towards, agreeing on what sort of values they're centering together, agreeing on what kind of processes they want to use to actually co-imagine and co-create and co-produce. And then this word accountability, which again falls back on these other two words, because purpose is ideally what you hold yourself accountable to, and is also something that you have to investigate. I mean, Maria's work here at ASU and beyond, just in terms of her creative measurement lab and her long history of scholarship and research and field practice, what I have learned from it is how important it is to ask questions like, who is defining success for any particular endeavor? Who is defining what we are attempting to accomplish together? Who is this work serving? And all of that comes back to purpose. And all that also comes back to how we collaborate. So to hold oneself or a project or a collaboration accountable, we're going to keep circling back to, and possibly evolving or iterating, but being transparent and communicative about purpose.
I think that's a really unique opportunity of grad school too, to be given this time and space with supportive mentors who can help you to figure out what that looks like. How can you connect with the world? How do you need to be repositioning how you think about working with other people? That this being able to find space to explore purpose and really see greater impact is a unique opportunity of a graduate work and program. So what do you want students to walk away with in taking this class? How do you hope that they carry some of these ideas forward into their work beyond your class and in beyond grad school into their professional settings?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good question. You know, what do you walk away with? And I would hope that one of the things that students walk away with is an appreciation for other points of view and a curiosity, a genuine curiosity about why people make sense of the world the way they make sense of the world, and what that has to do with changing the world. One of the things that I've actually learned from Michael's practice has to do with listening and the importance of listening actively and attentively and leading with inquiry. And I think in order to make good theater, I think you have to have those skills. So to experience the practice of listening that comes from a different discipline, certainly from mine, I think the cross-disciplinarity of what we have to offer and how students make sense of that and take it forward as a skill set of their own is something that I'm looking forward to enjoying how it unfolds for the students, right? And the other thing I think to remember is, yes, students will walk away with something new from this class, but they will also bring something to it. And I think both Michael and I are committed to recognizing that people come into an educational setting not as empty vessels, but as people with experiences and expertise and ideas and points of view of their own that deserve attention and deserve our curiosity. So I hope that that's an experience that students carry away as well.
Yeah, I would only add to that. I would, again, a big yes. And I hope students also walk away with a greater understanding of the potential for their assets as creative, cultural contributors to spaces and causes outside of the arts sector. That they might enter with an interest in cross-sector work, but maybe just sort of in a general way. And hopefully, especially in their exploration of purpose, they're able to explore and learn about the connections that exist between their work and the work Maria does at Watts, and the work that happens in a transit department, the work that happens at a municipal water agency, and the work that happens at a local United Way. You know, looking at how there's a great opportunity for them to contribute and collaborate in spaces they may not have thought of before.
I think that sounds exciting. Like you're setting them up to see other ways of working and other ways of connecting in the field. And to reiterate what you said, Maria, I do the same thing. I love how everyone comes into the classroom bringing their own professional expertise. And I think that that's really strong in our classroom settings where people have their different disciplinary interests. And I feel like I learn something in every class that I'm a part of as well. So I always am really grateful to that. So to pick up a little bit on what you were saying about collaboration and cross-sector connection, this is something that I know connects a lot with the ideas that both of you are actively thinking about. You yourselves come from different sectors. How do you see this collaboration across sectors being important to the future of art and design, and thinking about how some of our students might connect into the world in the future? What are some of the things that are happening that we should be looking out for?
Do you want, I can switch it up. Do you want me to jump in, Maria?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, okay. Is my sound okay? Can you hear? There's a lawnmower somewhere in the distance. Sorry, listeners.
Totally fine. We hear you living your life and still sharing with us, so no problem. Thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah. You know, it's funny when you ask about the future, cross-sector work and its relationship to the future. I don't first think about its impact on art and design. I think about the necessity of cross-sector work from my point of view in other sectors to create more healthy, just, and equitable communities and a more functional democracy, a more just democracy. So that's what I think of. I do think that it has tremendous impact on the future of art and design, because I do feel that what I would like to imagine and what I aspire to is being a part of intersecting ecosystems of disciplines and fields that collectively understand that what is being made and produced and worked on all should be contributing to core values and core visions centered in equity and justice. Therefore, I want to see the future of art and design really grapple with and embrace that as a necessary part of its pedagogical and institutional mission in all spaces. Not saying that artists and designers have to just do one kind of work, but I personally am less interested in the parts of art and design that do not at least look for bridges or consider impact and relationship in their work. So I think that art and design are going to more and more be engaging with those ideas and those urgencies. And therefore the work we're talking about in terms of cross-sector work and how purpose, collaboration, and accountability are central to doing that work equitably and ethically are going to become, hopefully by necessity, more central to both the education happening in art and design spaces and the institutional visioning happening in spaces that historically make art and design and influence art and design. So that's how I think about that.
Yeah, I resonate. Well, what Michael said resonates with me quite a bit. As someone whose root isn't in the art field, my background is, my root fields, if you will, are urban planning, community development, public administration. And for the past 25, 30 years, I feel like I've been at that intersection and trying to advance interest in those very intersections that Michael has referenced for the reasons he has referenced. I believe that part of why in many professions we're stuck is because we haven't brought our full selves to the work. And part of bringing your full self to the work, I think, is connected to bringing our aesthetic sensibilities and our design inclinations. That's often missing. And the willingness to take a risk in creative process is often missing. So figuring out how to do that across professions from diverse points of view, all of that is such important work to move us forward. And I think that this class will be an opportunity to both build some skills and see some examples of how that can happen, right? How is it that we can get unstuck? How is it that we can imagine something better than what we have now, something more just, more equitable? In my case, I'm particularly interested about neighborhoods and communities and the systems that are responsible for the conditions in them. So one interpretation could be, how do we build places where people can thrive and where we reckon with historic harm and inequity and to try to address it so that people can actually thrive. Because I think you can't do that if you don't reckon with it.
That's deeply powerful. I love the idea of this class becoming a space to bring your full self to the work. And we collectively as a society have a lot to overcome. So I'm really excited to hear how you'll be setting up students to be thinking about these deeper questions about themselves in the world and coming together as a collective to take some risks and move their individual and collective work forward. So thank you for bringing this class to us at ASU.
I was going to add one thing to what Maria just said. I just wanted to say that that word that I've heard her use before and that I think about sometimes, but I don't center enough is this word reckoning. And I do think that the assets and tools that artists and designers and culture makers and heritage holders bring to spaces are uniquely powerful when we think about the work of imagination in relation to reckoning. And that we are in a time where, I mean, we are literally in a day as we record this, where we are watching our nation veer one way or another in terms of how it will reckon with what has just occurred. And I think it's fair to say Hillary Rodham Clinton had an op-ed in the Washington Post yesterday, which was about, do we have the strength or are we a failure of imagination at this moment to see what's next and what it's come from and what we must do right now. And what imagination will lead us and what imagination or lack thereof will hold us and deeply, 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 possibly beyond repair, harm us. So I think that our work and the relationship of cross-sector collaboration in the work of reckoning is just so crucial right now. So I just want to hold that word up.
Yeah, I'd love to see a continuation of this, a more immediate gathering space around imagination and reckoning. That would be deeply powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing this space and time with me here today. It's always great to connect with you, and thank you for sharing your voice and experience with our students.
Thank you. It's
Thank
good to
you.
be with you. Looking forward to the class. If you're a student on here potentially and you're watching, come join us.
Please do.